The wind that evening carried something strange across the open plains. Not just the smell of sagebrush, or the dust kicked up by the dying sun, but something heavier, something like a warning. Jackson Hale felt it long before he saw anything. He reined in his horse, Ashfall, at the top of the ridge. The frontier town of Willow Creek lay miles behind him, and the ranch lights were still an hour's ride ahead. On most nights, he liked the loneliness of the land. It was easier than facing the empty house waiting for him. Easier than remembering that it had been just 8 months since his wife, Eliza, died in a fire he couldn't save her from. But tonight felt different. The silence wasn't comforting. It was watching. Ashfall's ears twitched. The stallion snorted softly, shifting his weight. Jackson's hand drifted to the grip of his revolver. "Easy, boy," he murmured, but his own voice carried unease. For a moment he thought he heard something. A whisper, maybe, carried on the wind. Then it came again. Not a whisper. A cry. Faint. Soft. But real. A woman's voice. Jackson kicked his boots, and Ashfall thundered down the slope. Brush slapped at his legs as he rode toward the sound. The sky darkened behind him, the sunset bleeding red and gold across the horizon. He found her near the dry creek bed. A woman, young, pale, trembling, collapsed in the dirt beside his horse's shadow. Her dress was torn from travel, dust coating the hem. A small satchel lay open beside her, papers scattered like wounded birds, and she looked completely alone. Jackson slid off his horse with a controlled urgency. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" He knelt beside her, scanning for injuries. The woman stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, deep, storm-gray eyes that caught the last of the sunset like broken glass. When she saw him, she didn't panic. She didn't scream. She reached up with trembling fingers and touched his face, as if she already knew him. Then she whispered a name that froze him in place. "Eliza." Jackson's heart slammed into his ribs. For a breathless moment he couldn't speak, couldn't move, could only stare at this stranger whose lips had spoken the name of the only woman he'd ever loved. His dead wife's name. He swallowed hard. "Ma'am, you got the wrong person." He tried to create distance, physically and emotionally, but her voice had shattered his composure. "No," she whispered, eyes unfocused, as if caught between worlds. "Eliza said you'd come." He felt the blood drain from his face. "Eliza said?" His hand tightened around the girl's shoulder. "What are you talking about? Who are you?" The woman blinked slowly, tears forming at the corners of her eyes. I need help," she whispered. "I've been running for days." Running from what? Or who? Before he could ask, she fainted completely, her body going limp in his arms. Jackson cursed under his breath. He lifted her carefully and placed her across Ashfall's back. "Hold on," he muttered. "I'll get you to the ranch." As he mounted, he couldn't stop hearing her voice repeating in his head. "Eliza said you'd come." But Eliza had been gone for almost a year. No one alive should even know Jackson was out here tonight. Unless this stranger wasn't lying. Unless Eliza had told her something. Before she died. The wind rose behind them as they rode toward the distant ranch lights. The Hale Ranch sat like a dark island in the sea of empty land. Jackson pushed through the wooden door of the house, carrying the unconscious widow in his arms. He laid her gently on the couch, lit a lantern, and stepped back to study her. Stranger, dust-covered, frightened, yet familiar, too familiar. Her face wasn't Eliza's, but there were traces. The shape of the jaw, the softness in the eyes, the way she breathed, slow and careful. Jackson hated himself for even thinking it. Eliza was gone. No one could replace her shadow. He pulled a blanket over the woman and finally noticed something sticking out of her satchel. A letter, folded, sealed, with his wife's handwriting. Jackson froze. His heart hammered. His hands shook as he reached for it. The seal wasn't perfect, partially broken by travel. He opened it slowly. "Jackson, if this letter reaches you, it means I failed to tell you something before my time came. Someone will come to you. Someone who carries a piece of my past you never knew. Protect her. She is in danger because of me." Jackson stumbled backward as if struck. Eliza's handwriting. Her words. Her warning. He stared at the unconscious widow, 100 questions burning through his mind. Who was she? Why did she have Eliza's letter? And why in God's name did she speak his dead wife's name the moment she saw him? He sat in the old rocking chair, rubbing his face with his palms. The night deepened. The woman finally stirred. She opened her eyes slowly, and this time fear flashed across them. "Where am I?" she whispered. "You're safe," Jackson said quietly. "This is my ranch. You fainted out on the flats." Her breathing steadied. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, then spoke softly. "My name is Mary Whitlock. A widow. Alone. Traveling across dangerous land." But Jackson didn't trust her, not yet. "How do you know my wife's name?" he asked, voice low. Mary looked at him, something heavy in her eyes. "I didn't mean to frighten you," she whispered. "I wasn't fully conscious. I thought, no, I remembered. Something she told me." Jackson's jaw tightened. "You knew Eliza?" Mary looked away. "I knew of her. She helped me once. Long ago." That didn't add up. Eliza had never mentioned her. Never said anything about another woman, another widow. "Why did you faint near my land?" Jackson pressed. Tears welled again in Mary's eyes. Her voice trembled as she answered. "Because the same men who killed my husband are hunting me now." Jackson's blood chilled. "Why?" Mary's fingers tightened on the blanket. "Because of something Eliza left with me, something they want." She looked straight into his eyes. "And because they think Eliza isn't the only one who died with secrets." Jackson stood slowly, breath unsteady. There it was, the first tremor of something far bigger. "Mary," he whispered. "What did they want from her?" Mary swallowed. "Her past," she said. "The one she never told you." Jackson felt the ground shift beneath him. Eliza with secrets? No. He knew his wife. Didn't he? Before he could ask more, Mary grabbed his wrist suddenly, her eyes wide, terrified. "They followed me," she whispered. "Who followed you?" Jackson asked. Mary's eyes darted to the window. In the darkness outside, a horse snorted. Then another. Hooves. Voices. Men. Jackson extinguished the lamp instantly. Mary covered her mouth. "They're here," she whispered. Outside, the crunch of boots on gravel. Jackson moved silently to the gun rack, grabbed his rifle, and peeked through the curtain. For riders. Armed. Looking for someone. Looking for Mary. One of the men dismounted and approached the house. He knocked on the door. 3 slow, heavy knocks that echoed through the silent ranch. Jackson tightened his grip on the rifle. Mary trembled on the couch, whispering the only words she could manage. "Please don't let them take me. Eliza died trying to protect me." Jackson's heart stilled. Everything he thought he knew about his wife, about her past, was unraveling, and the danger now stood outside his door. The man outside knocked again, this time louder. Jackson stepped toward the door. The night held its breath. The man knocked a 3rd time. Slow, deliberate, a sound meant to send a message. "We know you're inside." Jackson's breathing stayed steady, but his eyes sharpened like a blade being pulled from its sheath. He stepped away from the window and motioned to Mary with 2 fingers. "Hide." She nodded, clutching her satchel, and slipped behind the heavy wooden table near the kitchen, shadow swallowing her frightened form. The knocking stopped. A voice followed, deep and raspy like leather dragged across gravel. "Jackson Hale, we ain't here for trouble. Just looking for what belongs to us." Jackson's jaw tightened. He knew that voice. Clayton Briggs, leader of the Black Spur Riders, the same gang that terrorized 3 counties, specializing in extortion, escorts, and debt collections no one volunteered for. Jackson stepped behind the door, rifle ready. He didn't open it. "What do you want, Briggs?" he called through the wood. A dark chuckle drifted from the porch. "We're hunting a woman, widow by the name of Mary Whitlock." Jackson said nothing. Briggs continued. "She stole something. Something that ain't rightfully hers." Jackson's fingers curled tighter around the rifle. Briggs spoke again, voice coated with false politeness. "Now, we ain't looking to start a fight with you, Hale. But that woman is coming with us one way or another. You can hand her over, or we'll search your place ourselves." Mary stiffened behind the table. Jackson glanced toward her hiding place. Her eyes were squeezed shut, her shoulders shaking. He could have given her up. He could have protected his quiet life, shut the door on a stranger with a dangerous past. But she carried Eliza's letter, Eliza's words, Eliza's secret mission. And that meant something. Something Jackson could not turn away from. He took a slow breath. "Briggs," he called, calm as winter. "No one enters my house without being carried out." Silence. Then a low, deadly chuckle. "That's your answer, then?" Jackson lifted the rifle. "That's the only one you're getting." Briggs exhaled through his nose, more amused than angry. "Well, hell, boys, looks like Hale wants some company tonight." Bootsteps shifted outside. Rifles cocked. Then, a crash. The front window exploded inward. Jackson duffed to the side as a bullet screamed through the room, ripping into the far wall. Mary gasped. "Stay down." Jackson barked. Another shot. Another shattering sound. Briggs' men weren't waiting anymore. Jackson rolled to the table, grabbed Mary, and pulled her behind the stone fireplace. Bullets cracked through the doorway now, splintering wood like lightning splitting a tree. Mary clutched his arm. "What do we do?" Jackson looked at her, her fear, her fragility, her determination hiding beneath both. "We survive," he whispered. "For Eliza." Her breath caught. Hearing her name spoken from his lips was like a bridge. Two broken lives suddenly connected. The gunfire paused. Reloading. Jackson moved fast. He grabbed Mary's hand and rushed her toward the old cellar door beneath the stairs. He yanked it open and pushed her inside. "You stay here," he said. "No matter what happens." Mary grabbed his shirt. "Jackson." "No." His voice was a thunderous whisper. "I ain't losing another woman because I was too late." Their eyes locked. For the first time, she saw not the hard cowboy the world feared, but the grieving husband Eliza left behind. Mary's voice softened. "I trust you." Jackson closed the cellar hatch and turned just as Briggs' boot crashed through the front door. The gang leader stepped inside. Grins stretched across his scarred face. 3 men fanned out behind him. "Well now," Briggs drawled. "You always were a stubborn bastard." Jackson raised his rifle. Briggs aimed his revolver. A heartbeat of silence. Then gunfire erupted. Jackson dove behind the overturned table as lead tore through the air. He fired 2 shots. One man dropped instantly. Another ducked behind a barrel. Briggs' laughter echoed. "You always did shoot straight, Hale. Shame you ain't on the right side of this." Jackson fired again. A scream. Another man down. But Briggs kept moving, weaving like a wolf cornered and hungry. A shot grazed Jackson's shoulder, burning like a hot iron. He clenched his jaw, refusing to cry out. Briggs' voice floated from the shadows. "You ain't protecting her for your health, Hale. She got something worth dying for. Hate to break it to you, but she ain't what you think she is." Jackson growled back. "Neither are you." He fired. Another near miss. Briggs slipped behind the far beam, gun drawn. "You ever wonder," Briggs called, "why your sweet Eliza never told you about Mary? Why she hid so much from the good O.L. hero of Willow Creek?" The words hit harder than bullets. Jackson's grip faltered. Briggs saw the hesitation and lunged. The outlaw barreled forward, gun raised. Jackson's instinct screamed. "Move." He rolled, fired blindly, and Briggs flew back with a roar, bullet tearing into his shoulder. The gang leader fell to one knee, still dangerous, still breathing fire. "That woman," Briggs spat, blood dripping from his lip, "had something that belonged to Eliza, something worth killing for." Jackson approached slowly, gun trained on him. "What?" he demanded. "What did Eliza leave her?" Briggs' grin twisted sly. "You'll see soon enough." Jackson's finger tightened on the trigger, but before he could finish Briggs, the wounded outlaw hurled himself backward through the broken doorway and into the dark, mounting his horse with a pained scream. He fled into the night, clutching his bleeding arm. The last rider took off after him, abandoning the dead. Silence fell, broken, bloody, breathless. Jackson lowered his rifle, then rushed back to the cellar. He opened the hatch. Mary's frightened eyes blinked up at him. "It's over," he said gently. "For now." She climbed out, hands trembling, and looked around at the carnage, the bullets, the shattered wood, the blood. I'm so sorry," she whispered. "This is because of me." Jackson stepped closer. "Mary, I need the truth. All of it." She hesitated, then nodded. They sat at the table. Jackson, bruised and bleeding. Mary, exhausted and fragile. like two ghosts gathering around the last fire of the world. Mary opened her satchel slowly. Inside was a small wooden box. Hand-carved. Beautiful. Familiar. Jackson's heart slammed. "Eliza's," he whispered. Mary nodded. "She gave it to me 3 years ago." Jackson froze. 3 years. "Yes. Long before she married you." Mary's voice wavered with the weight of memory. "She saved my life, Jackson. My husband owed money to the Black Spur Riders. When they came for him, Eliza intervened. She helped us escape. We lived quietly afterward, until the gang found us again." Her eyes filled. "They killed my husband. They demanded the box. They thought we still had the money they believed we stole." Jackson ran a hand through his hair, confusion and grief twisting inside him. Eliza never stole money from anyone. Mary swallowed. "She didn't. The box doesn't have money inside." She pushed it toward him. Jackson opened it. Inside lay only a folded piece of cloth, soft blue linen, and wrapped within it, a photograph. Eliza, smiling, holding her baby. Jackson felt his world collapse. "Whose child is this?" he whispered, voice breaking. Tears ran down Mary's cheeks. "Eliza's," she said. "And mine." Jackson looked up sharply. Mary shook her head quickly. No, not like that. She wasn't the mother. She was the one who helped me escape with my child. The baby in that picture was mine." She wiped her cheeks. "Eliza hid us, protected us. The gang believed she knew where we went next. They came after her, and when they didn't find us, they killed her." Jackson's breath caught. The fire, the accident he blamed himself for. Not an accident. "She died because of me," Mary whispered, collapsing into sobs. "Because she saved us." Jackson's chest tightened until he thought his ribs would crack. Eliza had died saving another woman. A widow. A mother. A stranger she had protected out of pure goodness. And the gang had burned the Hale cabin to the ground to find the box. His knees weakened. Mary reached across the table and touched his hand softly. "She loved you, Jackson. She talked about you even when you weren't together yet. She told me, if anything ever happened to her, I should come to you." Jackson bowed his head. Pain, love, and guilt tearing through him. Mary whispered gently. "She said you were the only man she ever trusted." The words hit him like a bullet straight to the heart. After a long, trembling silence, Jackson finally spoke. "What now?" Mary took a shaky breath. "They'll come back. Briggs is wounded, but he won't give up. Not while he thinks I know where the money is." Her voice trembled. "I don't care about the money. I just want to live. I just want peace." Jackson stood from the table and walked to the window. The dawn was breaking. The sky streaked with pink and gold, washing away the darkness. "They ain't taking you," he said quietly. "They ain't getting near you again." Mary looked up. "Why?" she whispered. "You barely know me." Jackson turned. For the first time since Eliza's death, his heart didn't feel empty. "You're here because of her," he said softly, "and because she wanted me to protect you." He paused. "And I ain't failing her again." Mary's eyes glistened, not in fear, but in something deeper. Hope. Jackson holstered his rifle. Mary stood beside him. Together, they looked toward the horizon, where danger still waited. But so did a new beginning neither of them expected. A stranger, yet familiar. A widow, yet not alone anymore. Eliza's legacy lived not in grief, but in the two souls she had bound together. And the story of Jackson Hale and Mary Whitlock was only just beginning. White Medium Star, the end.